What's going on, everyone? My name is Brayden and welcome back to my channel. Yes, I am shirtless, and that can only mean one thing. We are going to do a post-op video today. I have not done an update on my chest in almost 4 years, so I thought it was time. But first, if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button and show that like button some love as well. It really helps the channel out. Now let's go ahead and jump into today's video. Okay guys, so I am out of shape as of late. I did hike the Appalachian Trail in 2017 and I lost a lot of weight. I was skinny, but I came back and I continued to eat like I was on the trail, but I was not doing the exercise, so I just gained a lot of weight back. I recently went to a plant-based diet. I plan to start working out and building up my pecs and all that stuff, but that is not why we're here today. We're going to talk about my chest. This is my chest. Almost 4 years post-op. I had my surgery done on March 8th of 2016 in Davie, Florida with Dr. Garramone. I'm going to be looking over here a little bit too because this is where my recording software is and I want to make sure that everything is lining up properly. I'm going to get into why my scars look like this and what I did for scar treatment. But first, let's talk about the cost, because that's a big question for everybody. The cost and how I came up with the money is kind of the comments that I see going on. The total out-of-pocket cost for my surgery, and then also I stayed at New Beginnings, so that was, you know, incorporated into the total cost for me. It was around $10,000. If you're going down to Florida for surgery, even if you're not going to be going with Dr. Garramone, I highly recommend New Beginnings Retreat. At least from my experience, it was great. Now, granted, this was 4 years ago. I can't speak to their current practice and the current experiences that people are having, but I'm sure if you YouTube it, you can find lots of reviews on how they are these days. But back in the day, I would have highly recommended it. I'm going to break down the costs and when everything was due and all of that. The consultation itself is actually free, and he'll do that over the phone with you. But to actually schedule a date for your surgery, you have to pay a $500 non-refundable deposit. That does obviously go towards the cost of your surgery. After you pay that $500 deposit, you have up until 30 days before your surgery to pay the remaining balance. You can pay as often as you like, or you can just make one big payment whenever you want to. I chose to pay the $500 deposit, and then I paid one big chunk at the end. And what I mean by end is I paid it about a month before my surgery. I did it this way because there was a specific time that I wanted to have my surgery so that I was ready for summer. So I actually called and scheduled my surgery in November, and then I had until I think it was mid-February to get my payment in. Between making the deposit and paying the remaining balance, I just busted my butt. That leads me into the next most frequent question I get, was how I funded my surgery. Yes, I did set up a GoFundMe, and if you go back into my videos, you can actually see that video where I posted my GoFundMe link. It is now shut down because I obviously don't need donations, but I left it up so people can post their GoFundMes and hopefully, you know, help each other out. I did have a little bit of success raising money on my GoFundMe page. Most of it came from friends and family. However, not even half of my surgery costs was raised. I ended up having to pay about, I would say, 75% of it out of pocket, and that was really just from working and saving. It's kind of funny what you can do with your mind when you really set it to something. You give yourself a deadline. I had 4 months to get all of that money together, and I didn't have hardly any of it in the beginning. I had the $500 deposit, and then I literally spent the next 4 months coming up with the remaining $9,500. I sold things that I didn't need anymore. I would go and find things to flip. You got to be careful with that, please. I'm not recommending that you do that, but I'm just kind of giving you some ideas of what I did. But you can really get yourself into trouble going out and buying things to flip. You really got to know what you're looking for. Totally different video, but I needed to mention that that was part of how I did it. I worked extra hours at work anytime they would let me. Anything and everything to actually get the money together. I did it, and I got the money together. Now, you also have to have a physical, like your primary care physician has to clear you for surgery, and I think that has to be done within 30 days of your surgery as well. So really, in that month leading up to your surgery, you need to do that and get the paperwork over to Dr. Garramone's office. Now, once that was all said and done, I had paid my balance. I had sent over all the paperwork to Garramone. I had my physical done and had my doctor, you know, send the clearance letter over. All of that good stuff. It was time to kind of rest and prepare for surgery. And I spent the last month just getting my body ready and focusing and just, you know, dealing with the nerves. Just whatever I needed to do to get my body ready for surgery. I went down the day before my scheduled pre-op so that I could get settled in and just kind of, you know, get to relax a minute. I went in for my pre-op the next day, and all that happens at the pre-op appointment is he looks at your chest, just kind of gets an idea of where you're at, and he confirms that you're doing, you know, whatever type of surgery you're doing, and mine was obviously double incision with nipple grafts. He's probably in the room with you for 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. The next day I had to just kind of chill. We actually went to the beach that day, and then Wednesday was my actual surgery. He does do drains, so for a week after surgery, you are wearing the drains and you have to stay in town, or at least close by. If you live close by, obviously you can go home. I did not. I live in North Carolina. So now I'll show you kind of where the drains were. You can kind of see right here. This is where a drain was here. And then obviously the same on this side. There was one here. I had problems with one of these. I think it was this one. I had problems with it closing up afterwards, but you can't even tell now. On your day of surgery, you're also only going to see him for maybe 5 minutes. He comes in and he marks you up. They give you the drugs. They whip you off to the surgery room, and that's that. You spend your week in town resting, recovering from surgery. You have your post-op appointment. He takes out your drain, removes all your nipple dressings, looks at your results, goes over everything with you, gives you some post-op instructions that are very, very important, and then he sends you on your way. In the weeks after surgery, this is where people kind of start to go different ways, if you will, about their healing. They have their own ideas about what they should do as far as scar care, as far as, you know, not stretching your scars and all that. This is a personal preference, so everything that I'm about to say is what I personally did and what I thought was best for my body. I'm not saying do this, and I'm not saying that this is the best way to do it. As soon as I was able to comfortably do this, I started raising my arms. They tell you not to do this right after surgery, but in order for my scar tissue not to build up and cause my scars to stretch, I started raising my arms right away. I would say probably 2 weeks post-op, I was already, you know, working on raising my arms up. Obviously, I couldn't go all the way, and that really helped a lot with, you know, how wide my scars ended up being. They look a little darker on camera here than they actually are, and I'm actually going to talk about why they might be a little bit, you know, darker than I would like for them to be at this point in time. I started going back to the gym at 6 weeks post-op, and my scar care, I was very, very routine about it. I would wake up, I had made this homemade scar cream, and I actually rubbed that into my scars twice a day for 15 minutes on each scar. So 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, 15 each scar each time. I also put emu oil on them. I did not use any of the pre-made store-bought scar treatment stuff. I just didn't like the ingredients that were in it. I did leave my tape alone. That is something that you really want to do. So I had tape over my scars for the first, I think they probably ended up falling off around a week and a half, 2 weeks post-op. All of the, you know, strips finally came off and everything, but I did leave them alone. You don't want to mess with those, and you don't want to start your scar treatment until your tape strips fall off. That is when you're kind of cleared to start doing that stuff. Now, how long did I do my scar treatment? I was really good about doing it until about a year post-op, and then I just kind of didn't care anymore what my scars looked like. I actually kind of, you know, fell in love with them in a way. I also had planned and still plan on building my chest up, and once I build my chest up and, you know, build my pecs out a little bit, the scars should go under and you won't be able to see them anyway. But they don't really bother me. Nobody knows what they are, so it's just not a big deal to me. I don't have any puckering on the side like dog ears, nothing like that. My nipples were a little bit not to my liking, and that wasn't his fault. That was just a thing that I had mentally. I didn't like the way my nipples looked. I thought that they looked a little weird, so I actually ended up going, it was about a year ago now, and had them tattooed. This experience trying to find somebody to tattoo my nipples was terrible. Nobody wanted to do it because anytime I said that I had reconstruction done on my chest and I wanted my nipples tattooed, they got the impression that it was like a breast cancer thing, and they would always try to send me to, like, we have a place in our area that does nipple tattoos for breast cancer patients, and they kept trying to send me there, and it wasn't, and I was like, you don't understand, I just want literally a little bit of color, because what had happened was I had patchy nipples, like where my pigment hadn't come back all the way in areas, so I just had to find somebody that would fill some of the color in, and I actually found, you know, a guy, and he did really good. I mean, I think so anyway. You know, this one was the one that was like really weird. He was unsure how it was going to take. He didn't know if it would like do well because it was scar tissue and everything, but it actually ended up being just fine. So if that's something you're interested in, you may have to look around a little bit to find a tattoo artist that will do that. If you're in the North Carolina, Raleigh-ish area, then I can tell you who I use. Just send me a message. Now, I was also in the sun a lot post-op. I did not stay out of the sun like I was supposed to, and that's why I was saying I think my scars, you know, are a little darker. You're supposed to stay out of the sun until they heal. So that is totally my fault. Now in the summertime when I tan, they disappear. You can't even see them at all. But once again, that doesn't bother me, so I'm okay with that. My experience with Dr. Garramone was nothing less than amazing. A lot of people can say that he is, you know, robotic and routine and all of that. I went over this in one of my other videos, and I talked about how, of course, he's going to be sounding like that because there are a ton of reveal videos for Dr. Garramone. So obviously he tells every patient the same thing post-op, so because it is very important, very pertinent information that he is giving you. So once you watch 100 videos of Dr. Garramone giving his post-op speech, of course it's going to sound robotic. But he was wonderful to me, very friendly, never had any issues with his bedside manner at all. Even if I didn't like that, that's not why I went there. I went there because he does a good job. The first time I saw his results, before I even knew who he was, I knew that this was a surgeon I wanted to go with. I didn't care about his bedside manner. I hired him to do a job, and he did that job great. So yeah, that's about all I have for my post-op video. I think I covered about everything, the major questions that I get asked a lot. But if you have any other questions, just drop them in the comments, and I'll do my best to respond to them. I don't have a positive comment shout out of the day because unfortunately, nobody commented on my last video. Actually, one person did, but it was more of an opinion rather than like a positive comment. So I'm not going to even entertain that. So be sure to drop your positive comments so that I can have some to choose from to shout out in future videos. Remember that you're all beautiful people, and I will see you back here next time.